folks, welcome back to The Well with Shan, and we are starting today with an episode on disabilities, specifically autism spectrum disorder. And my guest is the person who shares a last name with me. His name is Levi Alexander. Levi, how old are you now?
I'm 23. 23
years old. And Levi and I have a shared history because this is my son. And we're going to talk just a little bit about the whole process. Now, this is going to be Levi's experience today that he's going to be sharing. It's going to all be from Levi's perspective. And then we may be doing a part 2 or 3 on parenting, and that will be where I share some more with you. But Levi, I am so happy to have you as a guest today. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Do you have anything funny that you want to share as an icebreaker?
Oh, really?
You don't know any fun jokes?
No.
No fun jokes.
I have some, but you have to be fans for them to make sense. So.
Okay. Yeah, they're not just naturally funny. Okay. Well, then let's just jump right into it. I know one funny thing. You were just talking with a friend about video games. So is that some of your favorite things ever?
One of them, yes.
Okay. And what are some of your favorite video games?
I like GTA Online. I like Uncharted. I'm a big GTA fan, big Uncharted fan, big Sly Cooper fan.
Sly Cooper.
Big Lego game fan. Big
now
tell
folks about your Lego room.
Well, I'm a little bit over this, but it's just a hobby, and I like collecting Legos and games and books and stuff, and I have over 100 to 150 sets and maybe 100 to 150 minifigures.
Folks, it looks like a museum in that room. It's amazing. I posted it once on Facebook.
Yeah, and it's a lot bigger than that one time.
So Levi has some special interests, and special interest obsessions are actually part of autistic spectrum disorders, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you have one that's also academic. So do you want to tell folks about that obsession? What do you read?
I read lots of books. I read fantasy books and history books, science fiction books, etc.
And you love wars, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So he could tell you almost any fact that there is to know out there about Civil War,
Revolutionary War, half of World War II.
Yeah, so that's really fun. All right, Levi, let's go back. As your mom, I can remember some things right from the beginning that was hard for you. Most babies ride around in the car and they fall right asleep, but you didn't. You cried because you hated movement and hated motion. What are some other things that you remember around maybe 4, 5, 6, or 7 that was just part of your life?
I remember going to church, and when they'd sing songs, even though I love singing right now, I couldn't handle it. I had to have headphones on. I'd freak out. Okay.
So was it that the noise was too loud for you, or what do you mean I couldn't handle it?
How do I explain it? I couldn't handle the noise and the suspense and the 100 people around.
Okay.
Just something that was natural during that time.
All right. So part of it was the crowd. Part of it was the noise level. And you use the word, when you talk about getting overstimulated, you often use the word uncomfortable. What does it mean that it would make you really uncomfortable?
It's a great question. It was just kind of something that happened naturally that I couldn't really help. It just happened, and I couldn't think of anything else.
Did it make you anxious?
Maybe anxious and panicky.
Okay. So those are some of the ways that you would feel. Now, right now, you're only occasionally looking me in the eye, and we've had that conversation before. What does it feel like to you when you look somebody in the eyes?
Hard to pay attention. Not really. It feels kind of weird, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you've used the word awkward.
Or awkward.
Yeah, it makes you feel awkward to look somebody in the eye. Like it's too much, right? Is that how you've described it?
Around that. I mean, even fast things like today. Like I couldn't go on roller coasters. It just freaked me out so much. Like most people find roller coasters fun, entertaining. I just can't handle it.
Mm-hmm. So you're still very sensitive to motion.
Yeah, I haven't been on a roller coaster in quite some time, like a couple of years. So,
well, as I recall, you've only been on one, and when you got off of that little trip, we all were like, Levi!
Yeah, well, that's because I got tricked into going on the cannonball. Remember when Bryce and Cooper came, our old neighbors, and they tricked me into going on the cannonball?
Okay, you wouldn't have chosen to do it. No. Now, Levi, would you say that you have mild or moderate or severe autism?
I'd say it's mild. I have, there are autistic people who just have, it seems like they have no brain. Like they drool a lot, they have to wear this like napkins all the time. They like pull your hair or smack something out of your hand.
Okay, so that might be a more severe form.
I'd say it's just a little bit, maybe medium at best.
Okay, mild to moderate. And a lot of people would say, well, if your autism is only mild, it should be no big deal, right?
No, it's a very big deal.
Okay, tell me some of the ways that it's a big deal for you.
Do a lot of stupid things without thinking, just randomly. That can help. It's difficult to do a lot of things.
Okay, what things are difficult?
Schoolwork, for one. So sometimes to be in public places, to understand things, to tell if someone's joking or not, taking things way too seriously.
So it's really hard for you to tell if somebody's joking because you're super literal. So I remember when you were younger, one time I was like, it's raining cats and dogs outside. And you ran to the window and said,
here we go.
You were little, Levi. But telling if people are joking is really hard, right?
Extremely.
Okay, and how's that make you feel?
Most, like at work, there are people like, oh, you can't understand jokes at all. It makes me feel, left out and like garbage. So, but yeah, part of me doesn't really care because, that's their problem, not mine.
And that's a level of maturity that you're getting to in your 20s that you didn't have as a teenager, right?
Yeah, undeniably.
All right, what are some other things that are hard for you?
Paying attention.
Okay.
Driving.
Okay, have you learned to drive yet?
No, I haven't, and I'm 23, but I kind of had a late start.
Okay, you're still working on it?
Yeah, not as bad as I was.
Yeah.
I remember driving a golf cart at 15. I almost ran into a ditch.
I remember that day. Levi, when you were a little kid, how do you remember people treating you? Now, this is pre-middle school, in grade school.
I mean, I went to a Christian school for most of that, so most people didn't really care. And the people that did...
They treated you pretty well.
Yeah, but...
Okay. Do you have any understanding of why they treated you well?
Because 95% of them are Christians and are understanding.
Okay. And wouldn't you say that the teachers
in your grade school... The teachers were a lot nicer there. I wish I'd stayed there through high school, but I didn't.
So they were very kind to you, and they taught the other students to be kind to you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then when you were really young, do you remember making a lot of doctor's visits?
Yes, multiples, maybe dozens, and maybe even triple or quadruple dozens.
Yeah. So doctor's visits, therapy sessions, OT, PT. You remember all of that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you have a couple of other diagnoses too, which is typical for people with autism spectrum disorders. So what are some of your other diagnoses?
ADHD, ADD, OCD. OCD is actually a more common thing. Like I have several friends who are OCD. I'm gonna name on names. I have Raynaud's. Most people are thinking, what the heck is Raynaud's? And I don't blame you. It's where your body doesn't have enough blood to pump to your hands and feet, so they turn reddish purplish all the time. Okay. In the winter, it's really bad. Tourette's.
All right, tell me about Tourette's.
It's involuntary movements, noises, or sayings.
Okay. And what are the involuntary movements that you normally would have?
I mostly have a throat clearing, but I say noises, say words, or shake, but that's not as bad as it used to be. So.
Okay. And your doctor told you it's not as bad because when you get more sleep?
He said when I'm asleep and when I'm in a more calm environment. And I'm working a lot better. Like my last job was torture, but I'm at a job where they don't yell at me when I make mistakes, and they wouldn't write me up for stupid reasons like standing in front of a car when someone's trying to order and not noticing.
Okay.
And like even when they do get mad, they're like, hey, you need to travel better, you need to travel a little bit faster.
So this work environment has been much better.
Extremely better. Like
okay.
I want
more patient, more understanding.
Yeah, and like I actually got along with most people there.
Mm-hmm. Really good. Now, Levi, would you say that you've ever had a history with some bullying?
Mostly at Signal Mountain. I had one at my high school, but yeah, I think he was only there for a year or two.
Okay. So middle school was the worst.
Middle school was one of the worst years of my life.
Yeah. You know what? Middle school is the worst year of a lot of people's life.
That is true.
All right. How have you done academically?
I had my strengths and my weaknesses. I did really good. I got like an A- in history, as I liked it if I did that my senior year. I didn't like in my sophomore year, like at the end of the sophomore year, is where I started to get into that kind of stuff. I did okay in biology. I was absolutely terrible at math, like undeniably terrible. Mm-hmm. I failed algebra once, pre-algebra twice. Original algebra, like 5th grade math, 3-4 times.
It's kind of rough.
I remember doing like a kid's book with like the easiest math, still couldn't do it. I didn't do very well in chemistry and physics either.
And English was pretty hard too, right? Yes. Even though you're a good reader, it was really hard to write papers and to kind of understand.
Book reports weren't that bad. I mean, I missed one or two because I couldn't find the plot in the book. There's like this World War II book about like Darwin or something, whatever his name was. He was fighting World War II, and I couldn't think of a plot to put in, and I got like a 40 or a 50.
Now, a lot of people have the misinterpretation that people who are kind of more Asperger's, and they don't have that diagnosis anymore, by the way, but people who are a little more Asperger's are a little higher IQ, or maybe they function a little better.
Elon Musk is autistic, and he's one of the richest people in the world.
Yeah, so...
And he has the knowledge of wanting to send people to Mars, even though Mars is a cold, damp, dry place with gigantic hills, like hills as far as the eye can see. If you put that on Earth, it could read up to the troposphere, the stratosphere. If you guys don't know what that is, 3 layers of the Earth's surface. But anyways, go ahead.
But I guess what I was going to say is people have ideas that if you're Asperger's, you're like a genius, and that you don't understand social cues, but that you're a genius in every other way. And that's not always true, is it?
That's not true at all. It took me a long time to get there. Like at least till 17 or 18.
Okay, to really start
And
mastering
then high
some
school,
of those
and
things.
then like in my 20s is where it really kicked off.
Yeah. Tell me some things that teachers did or adults in your life that were both positive and some that were not so good. That was
People
helpful.
from the church and like known and I'm close with that helped. Teachers in like middle school, when you say something stupid that you just can't think of, or something, and they just go, oh, and the class goes, oh, don't do that, because it just makes people even more mad, especially when people are trying to grow out of this.
So it kind of made you feel bad about yourself that
Yeah, like
they
when
were
I
patient.
said that, they just yelled at me. They're like, oh my gosh, it's not part of Spanish. And then I just like, I was so embarrassed, and I couldn't think of it. It's just part of my autism. I just laid my head on the floor and felt like an idiot. But you know, people are mean sometimes.
Sometimes. What would you say is a thing or two mom and dad did pretty well, and a thing mom and dad didn't do so great?
Mom and dad didn't do so great is that they always take the blame on me sometimes. Like they made me the big bad wolf, and my younger sibling are the good Samaritan, and I'm not.
Okay. So we didn't do so great on that one.
You
Anything positive?
Really helped me out through a lot of stuff. You know, when I made some bad choices or did something stupid, you know, you try to work it out instead of, you know, just calling the cops.
Okay. Now, you did have a kind of really difficult season around 15 or 16. Do you want to talk about that?
That's just being a teenager. I mean, if you say you haven't done that when you're 15 or 16, you're just a flat out liar. And even non-autistic people have that. It's just part of being a teenager.
I was kind of talking about
like I don't know
when you had to go and spend some time in some rehabilitation to just kind of work through some medication
Yes,
issues.
I did. That helped a little bit. I don't know if you guys heard the Greek story of Nemesis. He was the guy who looked at himself, but he was a teenager, and he was a good-looking guy. So, anyways, that's where the term Nemesis comes from.
You're talking about narcissist?
Yeah, narcissist.
Narcissist, yes. The guy looked at his reflection.
Well, that was his punishment for not accepting someone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Levi, what are some of your goals in life?
Get a car and try to do something with history. I really want to work in a museum and get tour guides. I don't really care about the pay. It's just what I like doing.
Okay, great. And what would you say that gets you up in the morning and keeps you going?
Like being able to hang out with friends and making money and being able to, you know, afford things.
So small rewards.
Yeah,
Give you something to look forward to.
Also, it felt good helping the economy, and I don't want to be a loser who wants to sit down and stay at home all day.
Okay, so you'd like to contribute some way to
Yeah.
the world if you
And
can.
it's really just screwing up the economy. Like it's bad for the government, bad for restaurants, bad for the economy. So
Okay. All right, so here we're closing now, and I usually close with a little inspirational shanspiration. But what do you want people to know from today's interview?
well, just to know that being autistic isn't easy. It's very hard, especially when you're younger. And if you're just gonna say, if someone does something stupid or says something stupid, you're just gonna go, oh, it's just gonna make it worse. Just don't do that. Try to be patient with them or give them a break. And if you don't like them, at least give them the benefit of the doubt and just leave them alone, and you can have your thoughts, but don't take it out on everybody else.
All right, that's a great word, Levi. Thank you so much for being with us. And my inspiration for the day, everybody has dignity. Everybody has worth and value. And I think Levi has shown us that today. Thank you for tuning in. And we will have a follow-up on parenting children with disabilities sometime coming soon. Thank you.